Welcome everyone to the first live stream on the Rock Hard for Life YouTube channel. So excited to have you here, and I'm so excited to have our first guest, which is Justin Wolf from Launch Medical. And
Well, thank you for having me. I feel like, I don't know, I feel lucky, blessed. Like, I don't know what you want to call it, but thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I've had so many questions about the Phoenix, and I've done a number of review videos, and the fact that you're joining us live to answer people's questions, and we're really thankful and grateful to have you on our channel.
No, I appreciate it. Any opportunity I can take to, answer questions and get the word out there and just educate people on, acoustic wave therapy or the Phoenix, and again, happy to be here and help educate the audience.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, I think since we've got quite a few questions, I'm going to go ahead and start jumping right into it. Okay. And feel free to type in your questions on the live YouTube stream, and we'll answer them here for you. But we've already had quite a few questions come in, so I'm going to start in with those.
Awesome.
Okay. First one. What does the Phoenix do inside of your penis? How does it make your erections stronger?
Right. Well, I've seen your videos, and you've actually addressed this question before, but to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, here we go. So the Phoenix and just acoustic wave therapy in general is designed to do two things, right? Well, it increases blood flow, but how does it do that, right? On soft tissue. Specifically, when we're talking about the penis, it does two things. It helps clear the microplaque out of the blood vessels in the penis, number one, right? And whether you like it or not, all guys have it. All guys get it. I don't care how well you take care of yourself. It's the same plaque that gets on your teeth that you have to go to the dentist to get scraped off. So it clears the microplaque out of the blood vessels, right? It's kind of like cleaning a pipe out. Secondly, it helps rejuvenate old and collapsed blood vessels, right? And it does happen. As well as causing micro trauma, triggering a process called angiogenesis, which is the growth of new tissue, the growth of new blood vessels, right? That's why a lot of guys that use the Phoenix, they'll say, hey, I noticed that we don't market this way, we don't talk about it on the website, but we have a lot of guys come to us and they're like, hey, like things are growing down there, they're getting bigger. I haven't seen this in a long time. Well, that's because these blood vessels are starting to rejuvenate, and blood flow is happening even when flaccid.
Yeah.
So that's what it does. Those are the two things. Clears microplaque, grows new blood vessels.
Beautiful. And on that, I've had this guy, I've seen him do several posts where he is saying, this is a scam because less than 5% of people have microplaque in their penis. I have no idea where he's getting that number. I wasn't able to find a number, but way more people than that have angiogenesis. Arterial sclerosis, heart disease, and that microplaque in the penis, that ED, is an early warning sign. Can be.
They call it the canary. They call it the canary, or it's the canary in the coal mine.
That's right.
So ED and just poor performance in the bedroom is one of the first indicators, of a cardiovascular issue. Like you and I know that, a lot of people know that, but some people don't, right? And I would venture out to bet more than 5% of guys have microplaque built up in their blood vessels. Look, the reality is this, guys. Like, it's in your food, it's in your environment, it's in the water, it's all around us. You're breathing it right now, right? So I brush my teeth twice. And here's how I kind of explain this to our patients at Novus and to our customers, right? I brush my teeth twice a day. I floss twice a day. I use mouthwash. I don't eat candy bars. I don't drink soda. I take pretty good care of my teeth. But guess what? Every 6 months, like clockwork, I go and I sit in the dentist chair and I have my amazing tech sit there and pick at my teeth for 45 minutes with this annoying metal pick. Guess what comes off my teeth? This nasty smelling yellow plaque. And that's the same plaque that's building up in your blood vessels right now. So I don't care how well you take care of your teeth, you still got to go to the dentist. And this is the same thing, right? I don't care how well you take care of your body, how well you eat, how well you sleep. This is the same thing. Eventually, there will be enough plaque that builds up in there that will cause ED. So less than perfect erections, let's call it that.
Yeah. And some of those blood vessels in your penis are so small, those capillaries,
They're
where only
they're
one red
they're
blood cell can get through at a time. If
they're
that's
they're
blocked,
extremely small. So
yeah.
think about it like this: the blood vessels in the penis are the second smallest in the body, next to the eyes. Right. That's why our eyesight starts to go right because the blood vessels start to weaken.
Hmm.
So same thing happens in the penis.
Yep. Excellent point. All right, so let's get on to the next one. We've got,
Yeah.
I'm going to need to buy a converter for the Phoenix. I
Uh-huh.
just bought because the electricity where I live is different than the USA. My
Yeah.
country's AC is 220 volts. Can you please let me know what's the watts for the Phoenix so I know what's appropriate converter to get?
Right. So this was a good question for our engineering team and also John, who is the guy that actually invented the technology in the Phoenix. So let me just read this off to you. So, guys, the Phoenix operates on 24 volts DC, which is direct current. Okay. It draws approximately zero point 0.7 amps. So a 24 VDC converter, which is capable of delivering 25 watts, is adequate. Right. So 24 volt DC converter, which is capable of delivering 25 watts, is adequate. Look, you can find these things on Amazon, right? The guy's asking. I understand that. I guarantee you, when he hears this, or you send this out in an email list, all you got to do is get on Amazon, pop it in there, 24 volt DC converter, 25 watts, boom, that's it.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
I should also answer questions for other countries too, right? So, I live in this country. We have this, we have this. So right there, 24 volt DC converter, which delivers 25 watts, is adequate.
Yeah, very good question.
It is.
So should you be semi-erect, like 20% when using the Phoenix?
I don't know where the 20% came from. I
I,
mean,
I
I
don't
think
either.
I asked that. Why not 19 or 25%? Exactly 20%?
Yeah, yeah.
This one was intriguing. No, guys, I understand the question. I get it a lot. I actually had a good friend of mine ask me a few days ago. He's like, should I like have half of an erection when I do this? No erection. And the answer is this. I mean, if you have an erection while you're doing this, it might hurt, right?
Mhm. And that does happen to some guys. They've contacted me.
listen, it happens a lot. They'll be using it and they'll actually get an erection and have to stop, which is
Mhm.
not a bad thing, right? That's the
That's what
whole goal,
That's right.
right? No, but guys, I mean, it needs to. You got to use it on soft tissue, right? So, flaccid is always the best, right? So,
Mhm.
the answer to that question is no. You don't need to be erect. In fact, we prefer that the penis is flaccid.
Mhm. Very good. Okay, and related to this, how firmly do you push this device against the penis? In other words,
Oh,
as I slide it, should it feel
uh-huh.
completely comfortable, moderately comfortable, or not comfortable?
Yeah, so we get this question a lot, and we actually address this in the how-to video. Some people forget or they don't watch it at all. But the reality is this: think about. I heard this analogy the other day. Uh, think about trying to jackhammer through concrete, right? But not actually having the jackhammer touch the concrete, right? It's got to dig in there. So it's the same thing with acoustic wave therapy, sound wave therapy, shockwave therapy. You want to apply firm pressure to make sure that the sound waves are penetrating through the tissue deep enough to have an effect, right? To be efficacious, right? So the answer is firmly press into the tissue. Now, if you're pressing too hard and it's like, ouch, that hurts, then back off a little bit. But gently gliding it over the top of the skin is going to do nothing, right? It's not going to do anything. It's
Hmm.
got to penetrate the tissue, right? So I'll put it this way. When I use it, I mean, I use it once a week, just as regular maintenance on Sundays. I make sure that I push hard enough to where I can feel that acoustic wave penetrate through the tissue hard enough to where I feel it in the palm of my hand. Right, I feel that wave in the palm of my hand.
Hmm.
So again, apply firm pressure.
Makes sense. Firm, but not as hard as you can do it. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So this is a new one that just came in. What is the
Yeah,
graphite-like substance that comes out of the tip after my treatment when I remove the metal part for storage?
that is an engineering question. I don't have that up here.
Okay, yeah, that was one that just came in.
Yeah.
I actually had that question
Yeah,
for that I asked, and I think a member of your team said that was happening with the original Phoenix they were shipping, but with the
yeah,
latest ones, it hasn't been occurring.
yeah. I think I remember this happening. The original Phoenixes coming out of the factory had a little bit of that graphite when you took the tip off. That's just normal wear and tear, and it's fine. I believe the engineering team made some adjustments, and we're not seeing that anymore. But for those devices, it was completely normal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This is another new one. Is it giving permanent results once you have used it?
Okay, so I'll answer this like I would any other acoustic wave treatment, whether you're doing it in a clinic or not. The answer is no, right? So just like I just stated, right, the dentist analogy. Do you go to the dentist one time, and never go back to the dentist? Of course not.
That's right.
Maintenance, guys, maintenance, right? It's like did you go to the gym one time and walk out of there looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger? No, it's maintenance, right? Just like anything else. You got to understand, guys, this is not a silver bullet. This is not some magic trick. This is not, acoustic wave therapy is not some permanent, magic fix. It's, again, and you've heard me say this 100 times. This is like exercise for your junk, for your penis, right?
Yeah.
So it's therapeutic, it's effective, but it's not a do it kind of one and done thing, and then it's over forever. So again, maintenance. We recommend 6 to 12 treatments. You take a break and then use it as needed thereafter. I use it once a week.
Okay. Yeah. Great. As for maintenance, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I thought the gym analogy was very good. I mean, even if you get yourself bulked up at the gym, you're going to lose that if you don't keep going to the gym.
Of course.
Right. You can think of life in general as maintenance. You got to maintain all kinds of things in life.
Most things in life are maintenance, right?
Exactly.
Mind, body, and soul.
Right. Okay, here we go. I'm wondering how the tip of the Phoenix moves. Does it move like a drill bouncing up and down on the penis, or is it more like a vibrator on the penis?
It's neither. The acoustic waves work through the tip of the device, right? So I've had this question before. It's not, some type of, jackhammer looking contraption. In fact, the tip stays still, stays in one spot. It does have a little bit of play in there, but that's because there are some violent things happening inside that device to generate an acoustic wave strong enough to have an effect. So no, the action that happens is that shock wave, that acoustic wave. Basically, it's a think of it as like they call it like a ballistic, right? Inside of the device, there's a ballistic action happening that smashes in to the back of the tip to create that acoustic wave that's strong enough to have an effect on the tissue.
Mm-hmm. It's a good question, though, because it does sound like a jackhammer.
It does sound like a jackhammer, but you know what? If it didn't make a noise, it wouldn't work.
Yeah. I'm not complaining. I understand the question.
Yeah, a lot of guys actually are surprised, how loud it is. But listen, guys, I mean, there's a reason why they call it acoustic waves or shockwave, therapy. It makes a loud noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that again, it's that ballistic happening inside that device has to be strong enough to penetrate, the tissue deep enough to have an effect.
Okay, well, that actually leads in perfect to the next question.
Yeah,
I have gotten Gaines wave treatment in the past, and it was painful, even with numbing cream. With the Phoenix, I don't need the numbing cream. How can it produce the same energy signature if I can feel the difference?
So this one I have my partner John answer. So I'll just read it to you guys and then kind of dive in. So the difference is in the depth of the penetration of the acoustic wave. The tip used on a Gaines wave treatment or any other storage unit, any other, in-clinic treatment, is a convex profile, which produces a radial wave dispersal pattern, right? A radial wave dispersal pattern. This means the acoustic wave gets progressively larger as it moves away from the tip. It also means that the maximum power is at the point of contact on the tissue, right? So right at the tissue. So hence the pain, because it's right at the tissue, right? So the Phoenix has a hybrid focused and radial tip. You'll notice that the tip of the Phoenix is largely convex or bowl shaped, all right? This creates a focused wave propagation pattern where the energy intensifies as it gets further from the tip. This means that there's a relatively low energy density at the point of contact of the tip on the flesh, and the energy is concentrated as it travels through the tissue. That way, we call it a hybrid because it's a rounded peripathy. I said that correctly. Also delivers some component of radial energy dispersal, which is important during the treatment. So what he's saying is the reason why it's painful when you do the gains wave is because most of that energy is being dispersed at the contact point, right on the tissue, right? So our tip actually emits a wave that gets stronger the further away it gets from the tip, right? That's why we say you got to apply firm pressure. And look, I've had both, right? So I mean, I own 3 of these storage units in my clinic in Studio City, and you can feel let's say a pain difference, right, or tolerance. And some guys don't need numbing cream on the gains wave of the storage units either. Everybody has kind of a little different sensitivity level, but the pain has nothing to do with the effectiveness of the actual wave pattern.
Okay.
All right.
It's more that the gains waves applying most of that force or energy signature right on the skin, and the Phoenix due to the tip.
Yes.
Dispersing more and getting stronger as it goes in.
As it goes through the tissue, correct. That's why we say press firmly.
Press firmly. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Makes that question even more important that you do press firmly.
Again, and on top of that, we didn't want every single guy to have to use numbing cream with the Phoenix anyway, right? That just becomes more of a cumbersome process where it's like, oh, I'm out of numbing cream now. Now I got to put it on and wait 30 minutes. So when we're talking about shipping millions of these devices all over the world, that can become very complex, right? You got to get very cumbersome for these guys, because I know what it's like.
Yeah, it starts.
And a lot of guys, believe it or not, they have a negative reaction to the numbing cream. So we've actually had guys come into the clinic that are using the numbing cream, and they're like, "What's going on? Like, my erections are worse than they were before I came in here." And I go, "Stop using the numbing cream." And they're like, "Why?" I go, "Because your body's having a negative reaction to it, right? So it'll last, instead of a few hours, days. Like, you're far more sensitive to it." So again, without being under medical supervision, it wasn't a component that we wanted every single guy to have to use.
Yeah, I'm a very holistic kind of person, so I wanted to try it without the numbing cream to begin with. I don't think I ever needed it. I don't put anything on my body that, especially my junk, that I think that might be detrimental. So it's really good to hear that.
Right.
All right, let me see here. Okay. Okay, note that the studies validating the technology refer to shockwave therapy, and the Phoenix is an acoustic wave machine. These are different technologies and don't yield the same results. I'll be interested when an inexpensive shockwave machine comes on the market, but I don't believe this is it. Am I wrong?
So we've had this question a few times, right? Is it shockwave? Is it not shockwave? Why do you call it acoustic wave? And let me answer that for you right now. All shockwaves are acoustic waves. So think of acoustic waves as kind of the umbrella. Then there are different types of waves, right? Wave patterns, right? So acoustic wave is kind of like the mother hen of all waves, right? That's why we say acoustic wave therapy. So all shockwaves are acoustic waves, right? They are acoustic waves. Acoustic wave literally means shockwave. If you look it up, shockwave simply refers to an acoustic wave where the rate of travel of the wave through a fluid is in excess of the speed of sound. All right. An analogy is the sonic boom, which can be heard when a supersonic aircraft flies overhead. We've all heard that before, right? The point of a rapidly advancing acoustic wave, a shock wave, is that the sound wave moves so quickly through the fluid or the blood or lymph that the fluid can't get out of the way fast enough, and the energy actually creates a tiny air bubble, which collapses explosively as the sound wave moves past. It's also referred to as cavitation. This phenomenon is known, This phenomenon is known as cavitation, and it is the high energy effect of collapsing air bubbles which causes the mechanical effects such as breaking up plaque and causing microtrauma to foster angiogenesis. Again, the growth of new blood vessels, right? The Phoenix delivers this cavitation effect. We choose not to refer to it as shockwave because many people confuse it with an electrical shock, right? Think about that. The first time you ever heard shockwave therapy, what was the very first thing that went through your mind?
That's exactly what I thought. It was electricity.
Everybody does, right? So the guys that have heard of shockwave therapy have already kind of vetted that out, and they know that it's sound waves. But guys, listen to me. I'll tell you right now, and Zander, we just talked about this before we hopped on this call. If I line up 1,000 guys on the street down here in front of me right now, and I ask every single one of those guys what shockwave therapy is, A, either they're not going to know, or B, they're going to think it's some type of electric shock mechanism, right? Used to torture your penis, right? So that's why we don't call it shockwave therapy.
Yeah, makes sense. It just scares
people.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so let's see. What is the best frequency for treatment? Once a week, twice a week, or 3 times a week?
So here's what I tell people. The protocol that we suggest is 2 to 3 times per week for 6 to 12 treatments. Some guys do 24 and then they take a break, and then it's maintenance as needed after that. Again, I do it once a week. Some guys do it a couple of times a week. Some guys do it a couple of times a month, but it's as needed after that. Some guys go through the protocol again after they take a break, right? So, but if you've never done it before, we tell everybody the same 6 to 12 treatments.
Okay. And for each one of those, you're recommending 2 10-minute pumping sessions.
That's correct. So what we found is, and it's true to all the studies that are out there, is that guys get better results if they use a vacuum pump in conjunction with their wave treatments. And what I mean by that is, and we have, this is the protocol at my clinic as well, is that we have the guys use a vacuum pump twice a day for 10 minutes, right, to increase blood flow to the penis, which helps do 2 things, right? 1, it helps clear the plaque out of the blood vessels because we're shaking things loose in there, right? 2 is anytime you're growing new tissue and you're helping blood vessels rejuvenate, either because they're collapsed or they're just bad blood vessels, flooding that area with rich oxygenated blood twice a day greatly speeds up the process, right? So that's why we have them pump.
That's beautiful.
And some guys ask, well, think about it, right? Blood flow is everything. It's how the body heals, right? So, I mean, what happens when you get a cut? You start bleeding, right? Your body's trying to create a scab. So, also, I get this question a lot: is do I still use the pump on my off days, right? So when I'm not doing a wave treatment, the answer is yes. It's every single day, twice a day, as long as you're going through that protocol.
Right.
Through that series of treatments.
It's got your tissues repairing. That's when the real growth is happening, right?
That's exactly right.
So this ties in well because there's a question that comes in later. A guy's wondering if he needs to pump if he's already getting good erections. So, I mean, he's waking up with morning wood. So it sounds to me as though this is just helping to enhance the effect that the Phoenix is getting.
Absolutely. So I tell everybody the same thing. The answer is yes. If you want to get good results, follow the protocol. Don't start making your own shit up. So that's why we give you the pump in the kit.
And just to talk to this too, if you've watched my review videos, so I did one at 6 treatments, I did one at 12 treatments, and with the 6 treatments, I followed that protocol exactly. Right? It was 2 to 3 treatments a week, 2 pumping sessions, 10 minutes each a day. For the second 12, I did 1 treatment a week with pumping every other day. And I could tell you the first set definitely worked better than the second.
Right. Okay, but there you go. Right. So, and then it's if you're going to start up treatments, again, and go through the protocol, which a lot of guys do, they'll take a few months off and then they'll do 6 to 12 treatments again. Again, this is maintenance or as needed.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Where are we at?
Okay. So this one, if I'm doing 12 treatments, should I take a rest after doing 6 treatments before starting the next six treatments?
No.
Okay.
No. Finish the 12 treatments 2 to 3 times a week.
All right. And here's, so I've done 13 treatments with no benefit to me.
Uh-huh.
I've been doing 2 treatments a week and using pump daily. Should I take a break or keep going?
So if you've done 13 treatments, so guys, this is not uncommon, right? And again, we've, pulled the data and taken polls here and talked to our customers there. We have about a 90% success rate with the Phoenix, right? So guys are happy. They're getting great results. They love it. They just keep using it. So, but there are some guys that don't get either immediate results or don't see any benefit at all, which is it's just the reality. Like nothing is 100%. So let's address this, right? So I've done 13 treatments, no benefit to me. I've been doing 2 treatments a week using the pump daily. Should I take a break? Here's what I would say, Kevin, take a break, right? So we've had lots of guys, they're like, hey, I've done 12 treatments. I'm starting to see things, but I thought it would happen faster. They take a break, right? And then, they might take a couple of weeks off or a month off and then start back up. And then what happens is when they start back up and they start going through their protocol again, they're like, bam, like it starts, they start seeing major changes. So I would say take a break, take about 4 weeks off, 4 to 6 weeks off, and then go through another round of 12 treatments. So I even say some men don't see noticeable difference until they take a break and start back up again. There are also some other things to consider here, which we're going to address in some other questions, right? Evaluate your lifestyle, Kevin. I don't know you, right? And I'm just going to throw this out there. What is your diet like, right? Do you get exercise daily, right? What's your alcohol consumption, right? What is your sleep like? Do you get deep REM sleep? Are you getting enough sleep or do you sleep like shit, right? What are your hormone levels like, right? So what's your BMI? All these things need to be looked at when you're evaluating the quality of your erection. So we'll get into that again deeper as we get down the list here. But those are some things to look at as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm going to throw in here too that when you order through our affiliate link, the Phoenix, I created a product specifically to help fill in those gaps that Dustin was just talking about, called Spirit of the Phoenix. So we get into your testosterone levels, naturally boosting those, blood flow getting to the penis, and performance anxiety. I just had a guy on the phone the other day. I was talking to him. Your hormones can be balanced, your blood flow can be going great, and performance anxiety can just tank you. So that's why I include that Spirit of the Phoenix, because I find the guys, because the Phoenix does one thing, but it does it exceedingly well, and that is increasing that blood flow in the penis and helping it stay in there through addressing venous leakage, right? Which is a critical factor. You have to have that in place. But there's other factors that go into your erection. So with some guys, it may seem, because you've probably seen comments on some guys that are just loving the Phoenix and they're getting great results right off the bat. They probably had some microplaque going on and some major thing, so where the Phoenix just cleared it out for them. But a lot of times it's more than just one issue. Okay. And that's why we include that one particular product. But one thing I would say too, is that when you get the Spirit of the Phoenix, with the Phoenix, make sure you actually do the stuff. Because I was on a call with someone the other day and asked him all these questions, and I finally got down to the fact that he just watched the video. He didn't do anything. Okay, you got to actually do the stuff. It will definitely help you. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, so my Phoenix seems to be ready for use just after 48 hours instead of 36 hours. I've been doing sessions 1 to 5 every alternate day, meaning every 48 hours. So is it okay to what I did? Also, is something not working in the Phoenix that it's not self-locked for 36 hours? Also, what is their recommended lube?
So let's address the first question, the 48 hours versus 36. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but it's damn near impossible that it's locking out for 48 hours and not 36, because we only have one lockout period in our software, right? And it's mass produced. So I would go out on a limb and say it's locking out for 36 hours. But like I said, nothing is ever 100%. I could be wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that. 36 hours, 48 hours, there's nothing wrong with doing a treatment every 2 days instead of every 36 hours, right? In fact, we recommend taking, 2 days off anyway. So I hope that addresses that. And yes, that's okay what you did. Asking.
Yeah, I would think it'd be
So
preferable. Actually, 48 hours would be preferable to
yeah,
30.
exactly. You know, I'm gonna just guess that, you know, most guys aren't sitting there waiting until like it's been 35 hours and 59 minutes, ready for my next treatment. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple guys out there like that, but listen, every couple of days is totally fine. So the recommended lube. So we've tested some different lubes. We prefer that you guys use our lube, of course, which is called Heat Shield. You can buy it on our website. That's the one I'm going to recommend, of course, because like I said, we've tested, several different lube types, and this is the one that we found to be most effective.
Okay, awesome. On that question,
guys, sorry, Zander, this might answer what you were just about to ask. Guys, the lube accomplishes two things. One, and most importantly, is that it helps transfer the wave energy from the tip through the tissue, through the skin, right? So it's kind of like think about like a depth charge you see, in these movies. It's moving through that fluid, right? So it helps transfer that energy through the tissue to be more effective. And two, it helps glide the tip along the shaft, of course.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. One question I do have guys ask me is, does it have to be a water-based lube? Can it be coconut oil?
Yeah, you can use coconut oil. We prefer a water-based lube. I mean, the coconut oil is going to help it glide. I can't sit here and tell you that, we've tested coconut oil and the effectiveness of it, and the results that guys get. I only know, what I've seen, and, what I've seen is that the water-based lubricants perform the best.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Okay. If I'm interrupted during a session, what would be the recommended protocol? The Phoenix is loud and it's not private under a house with other people. I ended up finishing the next day to complete the first half of the treatment, foregoing the second half. A day later, I finished the last half, 5 times 10 runs around the shaft. So I found out the Phoenix keeps in memory where it leaves off, which leads me to a second question. Is it okay to break up the first and second sessions into different days, or will that minimize effectiveness?
So here's what I'll say. The one treatment emits 15,000 pulses. Okay. Excuse me. A lot of protocols that I see out there across the country in these clinics, they're only doing 6,000 to 8,000 pulses per treatment. So what I would say is you didn't do anything wrong. And yes, it's loud, guys. Get used to that. It's a very loud device that emits a very powerful sound wave, right? So first thing I'll say is get some more privacy, right? And I would say you didn't do anything wrong, and you're still going to get some benefit doing it that way. Although we wouldn't recommend it. We recommend, of course, doing one full treatment at a time. So yes, it's loud, guys. Just get used to it. It's loud when you come into my clinic all day long. But again, try to time it to where you have 15 or 20 minutes of privacy, so you can just get the whole thing done, at one time.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, I believe I'm saying this correct. I mean, you guys are the owner of Novus, which I believe is the largest ED clinic in North America. Is that not correct?
That is correct. Yeah, we started doing wave therapy, acoustic wave therapy, shockwave therapy. I want to say a little over 4.5 years ago. And we quickly grew into one of the largest, if not the largest clinics in the US that does it today. So I get doctors calling us from all over the country wanting to come and train at our clinic all the time. We own 3 of the clinical grade devices. We have 3 rooms going all day long. It provides real results. Unfortunately, it's very expensive, right? So, which is, how the Phoenix was born.
And thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so is the penis pump for after or before treatment, is it still helpful to use if erections can be done manually without it, which is what I asked before? I assume it's meant for those who can't get an erection at all, but no, that's not the case.
First thing, don't assume anything. So again, and we covered this part of this question in a previous question, is even if you can get good healthy erections, like I said, you still should use the pump for maximum benefit. Key term, maximum benefit, right? So let's dive into that a little bit. So I have a lot of young guys. So we have a lot of guys in their 20s and 30s that are buying the Phoenix just to stay in tip-top shape. You know, they've read about it in the magazines. They've, you know, seen it out there on the internet. So we got a lot of biohacker, you know, guys using wave therapy in the Phoenix, but it just makes you better, right? Even if you think you're a 10, I promise you, unless you're 18, you ain't a 10. So yes, there is absolutely benefit to using the Phoenix pump, even if you can get good, strong erections. Okay. We get the question, do I use it before or after the treatment? The answer to that is it doesn't matter, right? As long as you use it 2 times a day. Now, having said that, and I don't know if this came from one of your followers, Zander, or I saw this from another customer, was, and actually a few customers, was they're using the pump right before the treatment to kind of fill up the shaft with blood, not causing like let's say a sex-worthy erection, but just to pull blood flow in to the penis. And they claim they're getting better results using the pump right before they do a treatment to kind of open up those blood vessels and get it ready for that wave treatment. So guys, if you want to experiment with that, again, you know, use your brain, but I'm getting feedback from some of our customers that are using the pump right before they use the Phoenix, and they're claiming they're getting better results than using it any other time of day.
That's a really good tip. And in fact, if you're doing it twice a day, you know, it makes sense to do one before your treatment and one after your treatment.
I would wait.
Well, I don't mean immediately. I don't mean immediately.
Yeah. Of course, it makes sense to do it. Yeah. I mean, yes. So, you know, most of our guys that come into the clinic, is what they'll do is, or even our Phoenix customers, you know, look, they'll do it, you know, right when they wake up or while they're having a cup of coffee or whatever, when it's quiet, you know, before they go to work, right? And then they'll do it at night, you know, after work. So that's kind of the schedule that most people are on anyway, right? I don't know about these days with most people working from home. You better not have a pump on under that desk, Zander. No. So yeah, so if you guys want to, you know, try using it right before the treatment, great. And then I would definitely wait a few hours before you do the second pump though.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I was unclear on that.
Yeah, I know, it's all right.
Okay, so let's see. Should I pump every day or leave a rest day in between?
Yeah. So no, you pump every day while you're going through the treatment protocol, right? 6, 12 treatments, 24 treatments. It's every day while you're going through those treatments, right? So the answer is yes, it's 7 days a week. And I mean, look, guys, the reality is this: don't get weird about it. If you miss a day because you're traveling, or you know, you just whatever, you're out to dinner with your significant other and you just can't make time for it, it's not the end of the world, right? So it's not something that's like, it's not going to work unless you do twice a day, 7 days a week. No, we prefer you do it twice a day, 7 days a week. But if you have to skip a day, it's not the end of the world.
How about with maintenance?
You know, it's kind of as needed. So I don't, well, actually, it's been a while, but I was using a pump every Sunday for 10 minutes before I would do my wave treatment. And then I just went down to just doing one maintenance wave treatment because I wasn't going through the whole protocol anymore. So it's kind of as needed. I would say try it, right? You definitely don't need to do it every day. I don't think you need to do it every few days, maybe just once a week, you know, if that, after you're all done with the treatments.
Okay, that's good. How many treatments is the Phoenix guaranteed for? Will I need to buy a second unit after it runs out of treatments?
So we don't guarantee any amount of treatments for the Phoenix, right? The latest ones that are coming out of the factory the last few months they're pretty much bulletproof. I mean, our engineers, we still have brake tests going on. When I say brake tests, we try to break them, right? We just run them. We bypass the lockout periods all day long, every day. And we're getting hundreds of treatments in and they're still not breaking. We're taking them, we're tearing them down, and we're going through and seeing where the wear and tear is, just like any good engineering team does. And these things are just bulletproof.
How about
So what
energy
else?
signature? Is that affected?
Here's what I'll say. The
Okay.
cam inside the device is eventually going to wear out, right? Just like parts do, right? Just like an engine wears out. So here's what we say. We recommend replacing the Phoenix after 1 million pulses because we can no longer, let's say, stand behind the effectiveness or how efficacious it is and really stand behind and guarantee that energy signature is exactly the same, right, as it was when it first came out of the factory. So we recommend replacing it after 1 million pulses is the
And
answer.
how many treatments is that? 1 million pulses.
Approximately 66.
Wow, that's a lot of treatments.
Multiply that times $500.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's an incredible deal. I'm gonna have to do the math on that. That's
It's like
amazing.
33 grand. It's like it would be like spending $33,000 in
Yeah,
the
but
clinic.
yeah, I'm just trying to see what it would cost per Phoenix treatment. That's really cheap. That's really, really cheap.
Yep.
Okay, so oh, and speaking of that, so what is your money back guarantee policy?
Let me do that math for you real quick. Works out to be about 12, 13 bucks per
13
treatment versus 500. Yeah, per treatment.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it'll run after that. It's just we're not, we can't sit here and say it's the exact same energy signature as, the clinical devices or, the day it left the factory.
Yeah, after approximately 66 treatments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was the next question?
What is your money back guarantee policy?
So the money back guarantee is basically this. It's a 30-day no questions asked money back guarantee. We might say, okay, well, why are you returning it? Again, like 1 out of 10 guys, it's just not going to work for. So purchase it. If you're not happy with it, 30 days you can send it back. However, having said that, guys, I can tell you right now, the entire full process of angiogenesis can take up to 90 days to be in full effect. In fact, we have a lot of guys, at 3 or 4 weeks, they're like, I'm starting to see changes. This is a step in the right direction. My erections are starting to get a little firmer, but and then we say, keep going. And 60 days later, they're like, oh my God, everything's changed. It's incredible. Again, because the full process of growing new tissue and new blood vessels can take up to 90 days, right? So I wouldn't expect, we have a lot of guys that, see major changes and benefits in a week or two. Great, right? But I would tell you this right now, the human body, the way it works is it can take 60, 90 days to have, to really realize the full benefit of weight therapy.
Mm-hmm. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Why won't the Phoenix ship to Canada, and how can I get it in Canada? There is no legal or logistical issue with shipping the Phoenix to Canada or any other country. Is it a financial issue?
It's not at all a financial issue. In fact, I believe it's a tariff issue, right? So if you want to pay the tariff on it, which in a lot of cases can be the full price of the device, you can do that, right? But the reality is we're working through, look, guys, we're still a relatively new company. We're establishing a presence in different areas on the globe so that we can, let's say, resume international shipping, right? Or start shipping into, several different countries and continents. It's a tariff issue, right? It's a tax issue. So unless we have a full distribution warehouse, right, in Canada, which we don't, there's going to be tax on that. And it's a heavy tax. It's a heavy tariff. And it's just something that we can't afford to, as a company, to pay. So, if you're looking at, sometimes, again, it could be, I think in Australia, it's 100% of the cost of the product. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy. Now, having said that, going back to the question is we are actively working on a solution to have a strategic presence in areas around the globe where we can ship into, and there either is no tariff or tax, on that, or it's minimized as much as possible.
Makes sense. That's great.
Yeah.
A lot of guys want it.
Yeah. We're working on it. It says right here, just let me read you the answer.
Okay.
That's mine. This is John's, who is more on the distribution side, but We are aggressively working on establishing local distribution and fulfillment in a number of countries right now, which will enable us to economically sell the Phoenix around the world. At the present moment, there's a very steep import duty, which is another word for taxing you, and tariff burdens, which dramatically increase the cost of the Phoenix in other countries, sometimes as much as doubling it, like I just said. So we're working on the issue right now.
Great, awesome.
Mhm.
My doctor says that any shockwave therapy machine under $1,000 is junk and can't possibly work like a true shockwave machine in an ED clinic.
You should have your doctor call our customers. Ask them if it works, right? So listen, man, legit question. It is what it is. Of course, doctors are, going to say, some doctors are going to say it doesn't work. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less. I've been doing this for quite a while and been around doctors a long time. So look, have them buy one, try it, right? Have them go to our website, look at our video reviews. These guys love it because it works, right? So, but the reality is maybe we should just hike the price up. Maybe we should charge a couple $1,000 for this. Maybe your doctor would believe that it worked. But no, listen, it's a legitimate question. What is it? It goes on to say, these home units are class 1 devices. They do not do what professional equipment does. How is my doctor wrong? Well, lots of doctors are wrong about lots of things. What I'll say is this, is that, and Zander, we were talking about this before. I'm going to actually debunk this guy's statement right here, or his doctor's statement, right? His doctor saying that a class 1 device is not therapeutic and it's not professional equipment. Guess what, buddy? The Storz Deactor unit, if you actually go to the FDA registration website, is registered as a class 1 device. And the Storz Deactor unit is the device that is most widely used in ED clinics around the country and around the globe. So give your doctor that piece of information for me.
Yeah, that's really good to know. But also to play, because I get this quite a bit. I've got a number of guys have contacted me and they end up getting treatment at that doctor's office. Okay, so there may be somewhat of a conflict of interest there, but there's also, I have known someone personally who has gotten ripped off from a device they bought. Now, this is before the Phoenix came out, but they claimed to be a home acoustic wave device off of Alibaba. I think it was about $2,000.
Yep.
And it didn't do anything for them.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. Yeah. So again, guys, look, here's the deal. I can guarantee you that the device that he purchased, right, did not have either A, reviews, or B, real reviews, or C, video reviews of, guys being like, oh my God, this thing changed my life. So guys, do your research. That's what I'll say, right? Look at the reviews. When you buy something on Amazon, especially if it's over $100, do you look at the reviews? I do. A lot of people do, right? And a lot of, I would say almost every single one of our customers looks at our reviews, and they'll ping my customer service team on live chat, and they'll start asking questions, legitimate questions like, okay, what does this do? How is it different from this, and this? And my team knows, to just say, guys, do your research, we'll answer your questions, but ultimately look at the reviews, look at them. So that's what I'll say. And trust me, it's my business to know if there's competition out there. And right now there is no legitimate device on the market that I'm aware of that has been clinically tested that it performs like the Phoenix does, especially with reviews, period. So unfortunately, I actually had one of, it's interesting you say that. I had a guy who is a Novus patient who lives in Hawaii. I won't mention his name. Real nice guy. Love the dude. Fly into LA. He stayed for 3 weeks, partied his ass off, had a great time in Hollywood while he was going through some treatments. And then, he went home and he's like, look, it's not logistically possible for me to come in every, couple of years, especially with how expensive it is to fly and this and that. So he did just that. He ordered like a $2,000. He even sent me a video of it. He ordered a $2,000 machine off of Alibaba. I think it was like $2,000. Claimed to be some shockwave device, right? First of all, it was completely quiet, made no noise, it had no wave. It was like some kind of ultrasound machine, I guess he purchased, but the company called it shockwave. And he's like, it doesn't work. So I'm like, well, did you read the reviews? He's like, no, there are no reviews. I'm like, okay, well, does it make it, like, did you feel anything coming out? He's like, no. So I guess it was some kind of ultrasound machine. So guys, be careful. You get what you pay for, but do your own research.
Mm-hmm.
You got to dig.
Well, like you were saying before, this whole concept of you get what you pay for it. I think that's part of what's in their mind, is they don't understand that it's putting out the same energy signature as the storage unit you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right.
What's the next one here?
Okay, so this is kind of a long one, but this guy's really passionate. So I am in very good shape, 55. I rarely drink. I don't smoke, and I eat very clean. I'm an athlete. I've used the Phoenix for 13 treatments now. I've not experienced spontaneous erections nor better erections whatsoever. And trust me, I wanted to. I was told by one of your sales reps to continue using the device along with the pumping for a duration of 90 days, 24 treatments. In addition, I'm slated to be part of the shockwave trials conducted by the University of Miami. They use a Renova machine. When I spoke to the head of urology, Dr. Ramasay, who is the chief investigator in various clinical trials, very clear that Gainswave, and more specifically the Phoenix, is not the real shockwave. It's not the type of shockwave respected and validated in clinical data is based on. Can you please comment on all of the above?
Well, there's only two things to address here. One is he's saying that he's not experiencing any benefit whatsoever, and that he's very clean. He doesn't smoke, right? So I'm not experienced much. So this guy's part of the 10%, right? Here's what I'll say. There's a couple of other things that are probably going on. Either one, he's having performance anxiety, right? He's not in the right, mental state of mind. Or two, his hormones are not balanced, right? So he might have, low testosterone or whatever. So other than that, if he's pretty healthy, he's physically healthy, right? But what about your hormones? And again, more often than not, performance anxiety is happening, right?
Yep.
So it's one of the two. If it's not performance anxiety, he needs to have his hormones like that, right? So I hope that addresses that issue. And then the second one is about Dr. Ramasamy, who's the going to be part of or conducting these clinical trials. Here's what I'll say. For him to say that that Gainswave, and more specifically the Phoenix, is not a real shockwave, come on, what do you think he's going to say, right? Gainswave, first of all, is most of the Gainswave doctors are using the storage deactor device, right? Because it works. And there are clinical studies that have been done using the storage deactor device, right? That show that it's efficacious, right? This guy's never used the Phoenix. He's never used it on a patient. So, for him to say it's not respected and validated in clinical studies is false, right? And I'll tell you right now, I have 3 storage deactor units going in my clinic all day long, just like I stated before. And again, an overwhelming majority of our patients do see a very clear benefit and much better erections after they go through the protocol. So I can tell you right now, I own a clinic and I see it every day. That's all I can say.
I got you. Also, just to let the audience know, I actually talked to this particular gentleman on the phone.
Yeah.
And we got in deep to his issues. And he agreed with me that he thought that it is probably performance anxiety after we really talked about it and really got into it.
Guys, if it's not a blood flow issue, let me just jump in right here. There's several different factors. As sex is it's very dynamic. There's a lot of things happening, right? So like you said earlier, is the Phoenix and acoustic wave therapy or shockwave therapy, whether you do it at home with the Phoenix or you go into a clinic, it will definitely affect the blood flow issue, right? And a lot of guys that experience true ED, right, or just want better performance, we address the blood flow issue. It clears the microplaque out of the blood vessels, and helps grow new tissue and rejuvenate weak blood vessels. Okay, now put that piece to the side, right? So this gentleman, again, like I said, is probably suffering from some type of anxiety, performance anxiety, and it is a very real thing. So now we're into the silo. There's 3 silos: blood flow, right? There's the mental and emotional side, and then there's the chemical side, which is your hormones, right? So when you start talking about the mental state, performance anxiety, a lot of it has to do with, the serotonin, the dopamine release, how you feel about that person, right? It can definitely have an effect, especially if you have an incident one night, right, where maybe you had one too many drinks or too many glasses of wine, and Mr. Willie wasn't working so well. Guess what's going to happen the next time? They're going to think about that and be like, oh shit, I better be able to perform. Then it gets into your head, right? That blood flow has nothing to do with that, right? That is 100% mental and emotional, right? Yes. And there are ways to overcome that, just like the spirit of the Phoenix can help you do, right? It can help address that. Then let's say it's not that. Get your hormones checked, guys. There might be something happening there. And I'm not saying you have low testosterone. Maybe something else is going on, right? So maybe there's some imbalance with estrogen, because guys do need a little bit of estrogen, right? Maybe there's something else happening there. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep, and hormones are contributing to that, right? So again, when you're talking about acoustic wave therapy, it will address one thing and one thing only, and that's blood flow, right? There are other factors at play here.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's, as you mentioned, Spirit of the Phoenix. As long as you send that receipt in, that you purchased through us, then we're going to send that to you. We address performance anxiety. We address the hormonal issues, blood flow getting to the penis, all these other things that can affect your erections. So it's an amazing device. I mean, it's like a power tool for that one specific thing, right? But that one specific thing is a critical factor. There's certain things that will help your erections, and there's certain things that are critical to your erections. Blood flow going into the penis and staying in the penis is a critical factor. It has to happen. And even if you don't get the Spirit of the Phoenix, there's lots of free videos right here on this YouTube channel that addresses performance anxiety, hormonal levels, that type of thing, for free. And also to let you know, I've got an assessment that's coming up. We're calling it the Zander Holt assessment, which you just take this little assessment and it will help you identify where your issues may be coming from, like, for instance, performance anxiety. So you can focus on those while you're doing something like the Phoenix. Okay, so let's move on to the next one here.
Nice question here.
Yeah. So how do I know if I have venous leakage?
Okay, so full disclaimer here, guys. I am not a doctor. I have no formal medical training. I am a shockwave expert, but I'll tell you this: go talk to your doctor. Okay. So, a lot of guys will self-diagnose and watch YouTube videos and read these boards that, say that venous leakage occurs when blood flows into the penis and causing an erection, but will not stay in the penis, right? So that is what a lot of guys will see and read and say, "Oh, that's what I got. I got venous leakage." What if you have performance anxiety, right?
Exactly.
So I would say talk to your doctor. Bring it up with your doctor if you haven't done so already. If he brought it up with his doctor, he wouldn't be asking us. You know what I mean? So just check with your doctor.
Yeah, it's very important because, like Dustin was just saying, performance anxiety can cause you to lose your erection. It doesn't have to be venous leakage.
Just like that.
Exactly. And they'll do very specific tests where they actually inject you with Trimix, force you to get an erection. They do a Doppler to actually look in there to see if there's venous leakage. So don't self-diagnose. If you want to know if you have venous leakage, you need to get it checked out.
Yeah, go to a doctor.
Okay, so let's see. How does the Phoenix treat venous leakage? What is the proper method to do this with the Phoenix?
So there is, I say right here, watch the how-to video. We do address this in the how-to video. There's a portion right at the base of the penis, where we'll have you run the Phoenix over, back and forth several times. In fact, you can replace that area with one of the quadrants on the shaft. And it shows you, where to apply the tip of the Phoenix to address that issue.
Okay, great. Oh boy, here's another long one on venous leakage. My question is, because the Phoenix will shut off after 10 passes or 10 rounds, when should I do the treatment strictly for the area above the penis to treat venous leakage? I remember, Zander, you showed a section regarding venous leakage from a longer instructional video you made for basic treatment. So do I just do 2 passes or 2 rounds for that day and do not do the regular treatment on the other areas of the penis because the focus is to treat the venous leakage? It is just a bit confusing because the Phoenix will automatically shut off after 10 passes or rounds, so there's no time left given to focus on the venous leakage for that day.
Yeah. So I address this here. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
You can swap one of the quadrants out on the shaft to apply the 10 passes at the base, like we show you in the video, of the penis to treat the venous leakage, right? So if you do, because it's 10 passes on the 5 quadrants, and then it's 10 more passes on the 5 quadrants, or you go around twice. We all know that, right? So you can swap out one of the quadrants to apply the treatment to the base of the penis, like we show you in the video. And you're going to do that twice because it's 2 times around.
Yeah,
we are working on updating that was a very detailed question, very, valid question. We're working on updating the videos with, when we get data like this and these questions, we take it seriously. And, especially if it's multiple times that we get the same question. I mean, we have catalogs, of data that we're collecting, and my team is very good, about that, saying, okay, listen, we have these 5 issues we need to address. One is updating the how-to video, because we've had 35 guys ask, about venous leakage, right? It's clear that, we need to address this in the video. So I appreciate the question. I hope that answers that. And to take it one step further, like I said, we are addressing this question because we've had several guys ask this in an up and coming new how-to video.
Excellent. And I like that answer, because in your current instructional video, it says to skip the 12 o'clock position, right? But what you're saying here is that you can alternate, right? For each time.
You can alternate. Yeah.
Line.
And look, you can do that. And then he's saying, well, how do I do it every treatment? Yeah, you can do it every treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So would you say, say if you're skipping 12 o'clock, for instance, do you skip 12 o'clock on both rounds on that session? Or
no, you can go and make sure you hit the 12 o'clock the next time you go around and skip the 10,
okay,
or the 8. Right?
Gotcha.
Again, guys, it's not a perfect science, what we're doing. And that's why we have you go around twice. And that's why we have you do 6 to 12 to 24 treatments. A lot of guys get really so hyper-focused, like, oh, I missed that last quarter inch. It's not going to work. It's like, it doesn't work like that, guys. So this is like horseshoes and hand grenades, right? There are very few things that I would, compare to horseshoes and hand grenades. But as long as you get close, and we're doing this multiple times, you're going to see a benefit, unless you have some of these other issues we talked about before, right? We're going to address the blood flow issue, right? Yeah. So it doesn't have to be a dead ringer every single time. If you get a leaner, or if it's within, one, horseshoe's length, those waves are going to work.
And that's an excellent point, because if you're thinking that way, you are triggering that, right? You're starting to develop performance anxiety because you're thinking, I didn't get that last quarter inch.
Yeah.
And that stress
don't stress like that. That's why we have you do multiple treatments. That's why we have you go around multiple times. And thank God you don't have to pay $500 a pop for it.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. Next one.
Will the Phoenix work for Peyronie's disease?
Yeah. So guys, here's what I'll say right now. If you want to go to our website, click on reviews, which are all third-party verified, very real reviews. You'll see a bunch of reviews about Peyronie's disease, right? And these guys seeing a major benefit using the Phoenix to treat Peyronie's disease.
And for
So
guys who don't know, that's a curved
Yeah.
penis, okay?
Yeah.
Usually from an injury.
Usually from some type of injury, from some trauma, although it can happen out of nowhere. It's not super common, but I've met enough guys to know that either this is no BS, you can actually inherit it. It's not very common. Or B, it could just happen out of nowhere. So it does happen, but most of the time it's from some type of trauma, usually a sexual accident, right? But yeah, so like I just said, you can go to our website and check out the reviews on Peyronie's. Yes, it does help treat Peyronie's. If you have a very severe case of it, I can't sit here and tell you that, it's going to have a massive effect on it. That at that point, you might need to go into a clinic and look at other options. But, it will help treat symptoms of Peyronie's disease. Go do your research. Check out our website. Go to reviews.
And if you are using it for Peyronie's, then the pumping's even more important.
So right, absolutely. So it's even more critical if you're using the Phoenix for Peyronie's to use the pump in conjunction with the treatments.
Okay. Are there supplements that could possibly have a similar effect as taking a pea shot? I think along the lines of food supplements to stimulate stem cell production, and or human growth hormones.
Look, there's nothing that I would absolutely stand behind and say, yes, take this pill, and it's very similar to getting a pea shot. And this guy's probably asking because either because it's expensive, right? Either he doesn't have all the money to pay for it, or B, he doesn't want to put a needle in his shaft, which I totally understand that too. But to answer his question, there's nothing that I know of that will take the place of highly concentrated PRP being injected into that tissue, which has a very efficacious result. We do, I don't know, dozens, hundreds of pea shots a month in my clinic, right? So we do them every day, and they do work. But it's kind of weird having a nurse put a needle in your shaft several times, and you're numb, so you might feel like a little prick, but it doesn't, it's not like super painful. Or B, it's also pretty expensive, right? So there's nothing I know of that could take the place of highly concentrated PRP being injected into the tissue, especially to stimulate stem cell production. And I type this up here. Look, I would say take a look at the foods you're eating. Try to increase your nitric oxide production. And by eating real food, which helps produce nitric oxide, like arugula, right?
Yes.
A lot of people take like beet powder, and I do too. But arugula has 5 times, if not more, a more benefit of producing nitric oxide than beet powder does. I bet you guys didn't know that. Maybe you did. Maybe your audience did know that, but I didn't know that till like a year ago. I'm like, what? I'm like, give me that arugula. So I started eating a lot of arugula. Yeah. Now I make sure every salad I have that there's arugula in it. But make sure you eat real foods. And then I do take some supplementation for nitric oxide production. It helps with cardiovascular exercise too. Of course, I notice a difference when I take it versus when I don't. And overall blood flow in general. So, answer his question. No, there's no supplement that I know of that will take the place of a pea shot.
Yeah, I would just add to that the nitric oxide production foods are excellent. You can also like garlic with vitamin C, really great for that. L-citrulline, French maritime pine bark, and for stem cell production and human growth hormone, fasting, especially intermittent fasting, has been shown to improve both of those things. Not saying it's going to do the same thing as a pea shot, but if you're looking to do something natural, those things make sense.
Yeah, I fast until about, I usually eat dinner like around 6:30 or 7, and then I don't eat after that. I'm not a snacker. So I don't eat usually until about 11 or 12 the next day. I'm just not,
Same way. I do the same thing.
Yeah. I don't even consider it fasting anymore. It's just how I eat, You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
that's right.
when I first started doing it, I'm like, I'm doing this intermittent fasting. This was years ago. And then I just got so used to it that I'm like, that's just what I eat. Right. And I feel better in the morning, not having a bunch of food in my stomach at, 6:30 or 7, trying to get through a workout. And you know what I mean? my mind seems to be sharper. My body uses body fat for fuel. And I'm just not so like I don't know, just feeling like bloated and stuff like that first thing in the morning and just kind of bogged down, So yeah, I usually don't eat till around 11 or 12 the following day. And
Yeah.
I noticed a big difference.
Me too.
And I have for years. So
yeah, I agree. It's great.
I
Your
love
gut
it.
needs a break.
Yep.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, I have an 18-month-old pneuma implant from Dr. Elst to correct hidden penis syndrome. Will the Phoenix work through the implant and into the erectile tissue beneath?
I will say this. What do you think I'm going to say?
Talk to that doctor.
Talk to your doctor. I would
Mhm.
talk to your doctor. To be, just looking at this question on the surface, that my answer would be no, right? Especially if it's some type of hard, surface under the tissue, like some high resin plastic or metal. I don't know, even what those things are made of. But I'm going to say talk to your doctor, but I'm going to also go out there and venture to say no. It's probably not going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if it'd be safe. That's why I'm saying talk to your doctor.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much on the it for the questions they sent in. The one was on the Spirit of Phoenix, which we already talked about.
Yeah.
I do have questions guys have written in. I don't know if you have time for those now, or we could maybe do that on another call. It's up to you.
No, I got about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Got 10 minutes? Okay. Let's see if we can get through some of these. I'll see ones that haven't been answered yet.
Yeah, try to find some that haven't been answered.
Okay, I've done 4 treatments with the Phoenix so far. When should I start seeing results?
So, like I did address this earlier, is a lot of guys don't start seeing, noticeable changes could be 4 weeks, could be 6 weeks, could be 2 months, right? So some guys will go through, a full set of treatments, take a break, and then start up the full set of treatments again. And then boom, it's like, boom, there it is. Okay. So again, be patient, stick with it, guys. This is not a magic bullet. This is not Viagra. It's not some drug, right? It's not some pharmaceutical that we're pushing down your throat, right? This is the body working on itself, right? Did you go to the gym and do chest, 4 times in 2 weeks and all of a sudden have a chest like Arnold Schwarzenegger? No, so just be patient, right? Let the body work. Go through the protocol. Make sure you're doing the pumping, like I just said. Look at your lifestyle, like we went through on this podcast, so this live stream, and evaluate all those things. But again, like I said, guys, the best thing I can do is compare this to going to the gym. It's a health routine that you have to stick to, right? So to start seeing benefit.
Yeah, 100%. So this one's pretty good. What's the best way to keep the tip sliding down the penis smoothly and still hold your penis up for treatments?
Right. So I get this a lot. And again, we're addressing this in a new video, but I tell this to a lot of guys in every podcast I do now. I explain this is hold your penis in the shaft, hold the shaft in your hand, in the palm of your hand. That's what I do. And it allows me to really kind of to get, firm pressure and make sure, you're sliding along the shaft like we show you in the video.
Mm-hmm. One thing I've found too is if you actually put the lube on the line, is what I'll typically do.
Yeah.
I'll put the lube on the line, and then I will actually grab hold of the tip with the washcloth.
Yeah.
Washcloth, right? And then I'll go down the line to make sure it goes smooth before I turn it on.
That makes sense. Yeah. You could do that too.
Yep. Okay, so morning, I had 3 P shots. I have had 7 sessions of shockwave, and I've used the Phoenix at least 20 times or more, and still have very weak erections. Why?
Okay, so we just addressed this, right? So he's done 7 clinical shockwaves. He's done 3 P shots. He's done 20 Phoenixes. So I would say that blood flow is not your issue. All right. Again, I'm not a doctor. Talk to your doctor, but me owning a clinic, doing this all day long, I would say blood flow is probably not your issue. right? I would get your hormones checked, and also take a look at, you know, the mental state there. You know, do you get anxious, right? Do you get anxiety? You know, knowing that you're gonna, you know, be put into a situation where you might have to have intercourse. If that makes you anxious, you're probably having some performance anxiety as well.
Right. And that kind of ties into this next question. What is the brain function to get blood to flow into the penis? Maybe I have a brain disconnect.
Well, again, I wouldn't call it a brain disconnect, right?
Yeah.
Not every, you know, not every partner that you meet that you're potentially going to have sex with is going to be a good match, right? Maybe you're just not attracted to that person. There's one other thing I want to address about the previous guy is medications, right? What kind of medications are you on, right?
Yes.
You guys, medications will absolutely have an effect on your erection, right? If you're on high blood pressure medication, ask your doctor, and you don't know what the side effects are, shame on you. Ask your doctor, right? Same thing with diabetes, right?
Yeah.
So
even simple things like antihistamines, you know,
antihistamines, exactly.
Yeah.
Simple things. So just look at what you're putting into your body. To answer this guy's question is, I wouldn't so much call it a brain disconnect. You know, I am definitely not a sex therapist. There are people out there far more qualified than I am, right? I address the blood flow side, right? But I do know for a fact that there are other issues, right? And from a mental standpoint, you know, what you're calling a disconnect, you know, I might call attraction, right? So to somebody, and most of the time, call me crazy, but you need to be physically attracted. We should be physically attracted to somebody if you're going to have intercourse with them, right? But I would say seek out, if you're, you know, if you're seeing this as a long-term, you know, issue, I would say, if you haven't done so already, seek out the advice of a sex therapist, a real professional who can answer all your questions and is far more qualified than I am in that area.
You know, this is a pretty good one here. I've had this question before, you know, seeing how Viagra addresses blood flow. So it says, I'm over treatments in. It's done nothing for me. I've been using Viagra for years, and it's the only way I can get an erection. Not sure the device is even working right. So how does it address blood flow versus Viagra?
Well, Viagra is able to increase blood flow by dilating the blood vessel using drugs, right? Using chemicals, which is, again, you know, just a Band-Aid, as we all know, right? So, but that doesn't mean that shockwave therapy won't work for him. I don't know how many treatments he's done. Again, though, I mean, there may be some psychological things. A lot of guys feel like, you know, they're going to be more confident if they swallow a pill, right? They're going to go out that night, you know, I better make sure it's working tonight, and they take a pill. You know, a lot of it has to do with confidence too. It's a confidence thing.
Yep. It's a really good point. That
pill, and
pill,
again, there could be some other things happening there. I don't know what his lifestyle's like. You know, what's his alcohol consumption like? What's his sleep like? What are his hormones like?
I know.
You know, what kind of medications are you on? You know, are you on diabetic or blood pressure medications? Everybody's on something. You know, so again, there are a lot of other factors that come into play, and you know, this thing has to be looked at. Just your sex life in general has to be looked at from a holistic standpoint, not just blood flow, right? Or testosterone, or, you know, dopamine or anxiety. So, you know, the food you eat, you know, the quality of sleep that you're getting, you know. I mean, I'll tell you this right now. If I get a really good night's sleep and I have sex the next day, it's bananas. You know what I mean? Like, I can tell a huge difference. You know, in my sex life when I'm getting good quality sleep, or if I'm not. And I've been there. We've all been there. And you all know about the lawsuit. Man, I'll tell you right now, you want to talk about, you know, a stressed out MFer? That was me. You know, that was not a good time. And again, what I just say, stress. You know, if you're going through a stressful time in your life, and a lot of people are right now with COVID-19, you know, business is shutting down, you know, trying to homeschool the kids or whatever your situation is, you know, stress has a lot to do with it as well.
Absolutely. Destin, can you elaborate as needed? I plan to use once a week for 6 weeks, rest few weeks, repeat how to maximize the life of this device and use 24 treatments effectively.
So how to maximize. Well, you're going to do a lot more than 24 treatments. So I wouldn't stress about that.
Yeah.
Again, everybody is different, right? Everybody is different. But the standard protocol that we see work for the majority of men is 6 to 12 treatments, maybe up to 24, and then as needed after that. So I say as needed, and I also threw out there, I use it once a week as maintenance, right? So you just kind of have to, again, everybody's bodies is a little different. You just kind of have to experiment a little bit after that as needed. Like I said, for me, it's once a week.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. When I pump, it goes to 250 milligrams, mg. He might be an HG, I'm not sure. And then the gauge goes down. Should I keep pumping to keep the till at 250?
Yeah, whatever the equivalent is of 5 to 10 psi, the answer is yes. You want to keep it. Within therapeutic range, right? So, meaning it's pulling blood flow into the shaft, right? And all pumps leak air out, right? If you're using a vacuum pump, they all leak air out, which is fine. Every few minutes, you have to pump it back up, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's
you want to keep it at the recommended level. But while we're all along that lines, guys, there's no sense. We have a lot of guys over pump, right? And they just think more is better, and more is not better, guys. You can hurt yourself, right?
Absolutely.
So do not over pump. There's no benefit to that.
I've had guys report at least temporary incontinence from doing that, penile numbness,
bruising.
It's like going to the gym and injuring joints and stuff. It's going to take you much longer to recover.
Yeah, guys, there's no benefit to that, right? Don't hurt yourself.
Exactly. It's a great tool if you use it correctly, but more is not better.
More is not better.
Let's see. Is it okay to split sessions?
Yeah, we addressed that one.
Yeah, it's a shockwave. Shockwave created by the rocket.
The good old rocket days.
Yeah. Let's see. Is focused shockwave different compared to acoustic shockwave? Which
we did address that question. So, yes, there are different tips that will put out a different type of wave. There's focused shockwave. There's radial shockwave, right? Radial, think about that as a fan, where focused comes in like this. Okay. Focus will penetrate the tissue further.
Do you recommend using a vacuum pump along with treatment? Do I assume with a constriction ring as well?
He's talking about, I guess, what some people would refer to as a cock ring, right?
Exactly.
You can. So I've seen, emails and customer service tickets where guys, are using that. You can. I don't think you need to. If the pump is pulling blood flow into the shaft, that's good enough. I don't think you need to use a ring unless for some reason it's not, pulling blood flow into the shaft, but then you probably got a pump issue.
Yeah, I personally don't recommend it because you can keep it on too long and you can actually damage yourself.
Yeah.
And you can cause a venous leakage issue if you don't use it right.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it either. I don't see, a lot of guys use it to have sex. Like they'll put the ring on, then they'll use a pump to pump it up, and then that keeps the blood flow in, which I understand. But there's some other things that you could be doing, like acoustic rate therapy.
Let's see. This is a good one though. Don't forget the effect of antidepressants, meds, and high blood pressure meds.
We just said that. That's a great statement.
It really is.
Man, I'm telling you, antidepressants will kill your erection so fast as performance anxiety will. High blood pressure medication, diabetic medication, what you're putting in your body, they're notorious for having a negative effect on your erections.
Okay. One last one here. Air pump with gauge or bathmate water pump that has no gauge?
You probably know more about these pumps than I do, Zander, but we have a lot of customers that use the bathmate. They love it. It's a more of a higher end pump than an air pump. They claim they get, better results. I will tell you either one, whatever one works best for you, either one of those will work. They will do what is designed to do, which is pull blood flow in while you're going through the protocol.
That's great. And, Yeah, I agree with that. The difference, the reason a water pump doesn't need a gauge is it doesn't have the same vacuum issue that the air pump has because of
Right.
because of the water in the
Yeah.
pump. So the nice thing about those water pumps too are that you get nice heated water in there, so which helps
Yeah.
relax the tissue to get more blood flow.
More blood flow. Yeah.
Yeah, I like them better in that sense, but they're more inconvenient to use. So
Right.
the air ones are easier to use. I would say the one thing with the air pump, what I recommend is that if guys are doing it on a flaccid penis, which you should be if you're using the Phoenix, I recommend you don't go over 5 inches of mercury. And then if you're hard, I'd recommend you don't go over 7 inches of mercury. It all depends on what your gauge says, but that's what typically I go by inches of mercury.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think that's all. I think the other ones we've all answered. It says, do you need a pump? I would say yes, if you want to get the maximum benefit out of the Phoenix, right?
Yes.
Use a pump.
Use the pump if you want to get the maximum benefits out of your treatments and your investment. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else you want to add, Dustin?
No, I'm happy to come on and answer these questions, and I appreciate you having me. And the more we can educate people about acoustic wave therapy and the differences between in clinic and the Phoenix, and the benefits of both, quite frankly, is what I'm happy to do. It's part of my job, and it's why I started Novus and co-founded and launched Medical with my partners. So I'm always happy to do these.
All right. Well, it's been great talking to you. I love the Phoenix. The vast majority of the guys that have bought the Phoenix that talk to me love the Phoenix. And there's always questions coming in. So, I mean, if you're up for it sometime in the future, maybe we could do this again and answer some more questions.
Happy to do that. Absolutely. And again, guys, be patient with our updated videos or lack thereof. They're coming down the pipe, and we'll explain some of the stuff about venous leakage and address some other issues. But yeah, we're getting better and better every day and improving our systems and our content and the information that we put out there. So, and we appreciate your business.
All right. Well, we appreciate you having you here, and
Thank you.
You bet. And we'll just keep in contact. And
absolutely, we always do.
All right. Until next time. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Take care.